All right, today class we're going to talk about the Toulimin model. And this was in your reading for the week, and I'm going to hopefully explain it to you in a little bit more of a simplistic way. Your book does go into detail, and I think it's a little bit cumbersome. And I want you not to be afraid of the Toulimin model, but I want you to think of it as a useful tool. You can use it not only for analyzing essays, but also for creating your own. It kind of helps you break down the different parts of the argument. All right, so there are three basic parts of the Toulimin model, and your goal for each of these parts is to create one sentence. Okay, so we're going to go through. The first one we're going to talk about is the claim. And the claim is actually, in my mind, the same thing as the thesis. All right, this is the main idea of an essay. Now we are going to break the claim down into a responsible party and a desired action. Each claim should have this. Okay. Now I believe the best way to kind of go through the Toulimin model is to give you a concrete example to apply. So let's try that. Let's think of a desired action that is near and dear to all of our hearts. More parking should be made available at the Hack Lebanon campus. That is certainly a desired action. So then the next question would have to be, well, who is responsible for this? Who is the responsible party? Well, we can hem and haw about this all day long, but the truth is we're just going to come up with a simplistic answer. And we're going to say that President Ski, the president of Hack, should accomplish this. Okay, so our goal at the end of this analysis of our claim information is to come up with one sentence. And we will come up with this one sentence by combining our responsible party and our desired action. And it will be this: President Ski should increase the amount of parking available at the Hack Lebanon campus. So this is our claim. The next sentence we are going to try to come up with is the warrant. And I'm sure that you've heard of the word warrant. If something warrants it, it necessitates it. Okay, if you look in the dictionary and you look under synonyms, you will see the word warrant, you'll see the word necessitate. Okay, and so just to make you understand, this statement explains why the claim is important. Now again, our goal is going to be to come up with one sentence that is our warrant. So we're going to use two parts again to create this sentence. We are of course going to use our responsible party again, and then we're going to come up with the value. We will use that responsible party from the claim, and then we will pair it with the value or why the claim is necessary. So let's check this out. So obviously our responsible party is Dr. Ski. The next question we have to come up with is why. Why is it important that parking be increased in Hack Lebanon? Well, we can talk about it, and maybe this is where if you were actually writing the essay, you would be doing a little bit of research or free writing, but you'd probably come up with a lot of different responses, but they would probably all center on the idea that parking is inadequate, it's unsafe, it's unfair. So we would try to, put that in the value, the reason why it's important to increase parking. The present parking situation at Hack Lebanon is both unfair and unsafe for students. So now when we want to create that one sentence that is the warrant, we're going to combine that responsible party and the value. And we're going to get Dr. Ski should increase the amount of parking at Hack Lebanon because present parking conditions are both unfair and unsafe for students. And that will be the warrant. Now notice how the warrant backs up what the thesis is saying. It necessitates it. Okay? The claim tells us that there should be more parking. The warrant answers why. Why should there be? Now our final thing that we're going to look at for the Toulimin model is the grounds. Okay? The grounds. And this explains that the action will achieve the value. We've already talked about, so what we're saying here then is that the claim and the warrant, their connection will solve a problem. Okay, their connection will solve a problem. So let's look at this. It's actually very easy to write because we're going to take the action sentence and pair it with the value one. So we have to look back over our notes, maybe think about it, but our action sentence said more parking must be made available at Lebanon. Okay, so that's our action one. And then the value one, The present parking situation at Hack Lebanon is both unfair and unsafe. So we're going to combine these two things together. Why? Well, because we are going to show that if you do, or this is going to show that if you do provide more parking at Hack Lebanon, it'll be fairer and safer for students. So this is what our actual ground sentence would look like. If more parking is made available at Hack Lebanon, it will be fairer and safer for students. Okay, so you see how all of these things kind of come together. And you want to note one thing though, and the very last thing we'll say about this particular slide is that in the ground statement there is the word should is not used. Why would that be? Because we are moved now from surmising and all that stuff to our final statement. Okay, so if more parking is made available, it will be. Okay, it will be fairer and safer. We are saying that if two things happen, if something happens and we already know it's important, then this will be the result. So the grounds are actually the result. So looking at these in their entirety, our claims thesis, President Ski should increase the amount of parking available at the Hack Lebanon campus. And then our warrant, why is that important? Why should he do it? Well, Dr. Ski should increase the amount of parking at Hack Lebanon because the present parking situations are both unfair and unsafe. And then our grounds tell us if more parking is made available at Hack Lebanon, it will be fairer and safer for students. So we can kind of see the connection between the claim and the warrant as stated in the grounds. Now the last thing I want to do today is I want to actually take a few minutes and look at an example. Okay, and the example we're going to look at is an essay that we read in class, or at least we discussed in class to some extent, and that's the undercover parent. Now remembering that is where the author believed that that parents should install software in their children's computers to protect them. So here is our claim. Parents should use spyware to protect their children from the dangers of the internet. Notice the responsible party, that's parents, and we've added it to the action. The action is to use spyware to protect children. Now the warrant, this is what's telling us what the value of this is, right? Spyware must be used to protect children because there are many hidden dangers of which they are unaware. Okay? So now we're talking about what the action is and what the value of it is. Okay, so the value in this instance is that we are protecting children, or parents are protecting children from hidden dangers. Okay, and so then finally the grounds tell us protecting students from the dangers of the internet is necessary because many children are unaware of such dangers. This proves that the action will achieve the value. Okay, obviously the value, the importance is to protect the children, and if we want to protect them, we have to install the software and protect them from the dangers of the internet. So here's kind of a breakdown of one of the essays we read this semester using the Toulimin model. Now I'm sure many of you are sitting here listening to me ramble on and you think, why? Why do I care? Why is this necessary? Well guys, it's just another tool in your analysis work toolbox, if you will. Okay, it can absolutely help you determine if things are valid or invalid when you're reading. If you think through the claim, the warrant, and the grounds, and there seems to be some kind of discrepancy, that's a problem with the logic of that author. And it's certainly a place to poke, a soft place, a place that's not protected. And also, when you're writing your essay, if you consider this and you try to come up with what your claim is, and you try to think about, well, okay, this is my claim, what is my warrant? And you move down to grounds. If you do this, not only are you making sure that your argument is sound, but you're also making sure that you're also really thinking through, and you have kind of a mini outline of what your essay will be. Okay, so this is why we looked at the Toulimin model today, and expect to use this in class next week when we talk about different essays. All right, thank you.